Alright, so now we're going to watch from a front view. So front view, ball position with the stance. I like how all that looks. Grip's pretty good, might get a little strong in the left, but I'm not concerned about that yet until we start hitting nasty push hooks.
Okay.
Then we might make it a little more neutral, but for now, I like everything I'm seeing here. So again, setup-wise, maybe just checking our weight when we get back out here. From there, we start back. You're going to see a little bit of a shift into the right side. Creates a very wide arc. Notice how he's keeping his arms, hands really far from him as he gets into this great 90-degree angle. As we start back, start with kind of the chest, but you can start to see how you're pulling the club kind of around you versus more up and down, and that's kind of where that club was getting underneath our cone.
Okay.
So we have a loop in our swing, right? Our club came from under the cone to on top of it. And we want to go kind of up and down the same way. Right now it feels like you are, but you're not, obviously.
Okay.
We just saw that. So for you to actually go up and down the same way, it's going to feel like a reverse loop.
Okay.
But that's all right. Good news is what you do is what I've fixed hundreds and hundreds of times in 10 years. So it's easily fixable with the right practice.
Okay.
So now we head up to the top. You can see very stable foundation. Creates great width. He's keeping his, especially his left, he's keeping his left hand as far from his head and chest as he can. That creates a very wide arc to generate a lot of power from. Also, he keeps a nice kind of 90-degree, maybe 80 to 90-degree angle. Doesn't really go past it because he wants to keep his wrists in the same spot he wants to have them at impact for the most part. As we continue back and wrap around, here we are. This is probably a pretty good angle, and realistically, we have a little bit of slide outside that line. We want to stay inside of it. But if we just clicked here and said, hey, this is our top position, you see almost all green numbers. Our hip sensors are a little bit off because we're kind of sagging back because we're about to really sag back right here.
Yeah.
As the club almost bounces off of us. And there's our top, and we're just getting over-rotated. But now our shoulder bend is 22 degrees back, meaning that shoulder sensor, because of the amount of rotation and how your hands are tipping your upper spine back, this is kind of how your upper spine looks. So your sensor's hanging backwards, where his would be almost like this, about a degree or two forward. So that's a big change, especially when it comes to what we're talking about with path, right? If I take an axe and I heave it over my shoulder to try and chop a board in half, notice how I create that look. So I'm going to chop into that board. Versus if I do this and I'm trying to, think of a rock. If I was going to skip a rock, I wouldn't go like this. I'd be trying to kill fish, not skip a rock. I'd go more like this, so I can throw that thing sidearm, which is the same action we want to have with a golf club, right? We want to be here throwing this club to our target, not chopping down at it. So a lot of your downswing issues are all from right here.
Okay.
So we have to spend some time, over the next month, really cleaning up our top position. We got to get our lower body a little more stable. You can see your left knee collapses in and your right hip kicks, so there's a little bit of sway going on there. And then we kind of fall back. And the main reason this is happening is because this is happening, right? They got to counterbalance. If you tried to keep this in place, but then you did this, you'd start to fall over. So you've shifted your lower half this way to create more of this angle, which is why those bend numbers, your shoulders and hip numbers, read so far back. Hip bend should be around 0. Shoulder bend should be around 0, 1, or 2 forward, not.
Yeah.
Then we're also collapsing. Our hands are getting behind us. We're bending our left arm, so we're losing width. So you're trying to generate power by a very big swing, and you know how to by using your body correctly. But you're making it very hard to hit the ball, right? It's like hammering a nail, right? Tiger's kind of going, with great leverage, staying right here, finding the middle of the face and, using great power. You're kind of going, bending from your elbow, going like this, trying to do that. One's going to break thumbs. We don't want to do that. So we got to shorten this up and know that we're going to have just as much power, if not more. The other way to look at it too is just average. And you hit 8 shots, and you look at that and you go, well, you averaged 186 total, 170 carry, but you carried anywhere from 140 to 190. 50 yards difference. It's a big one.
Yeah.
You know, so what if all of a sudden we could average 180 carry with a swing that, you know, stopped here, we found the middle of the face, and the dispersion was only 5 or 6 yards. That's where we
That's
need to
way
be
better. Yeah.
to be that single digit to scratch golfer. So, got to change this appearance before we can ever work on your downswing. So the downswing stuff's going to look the same for the most part till we get there.
Okay.
But first we got to get this cleaned up. Then from there, because of that position with his lower half and arms, he's able to clear his hips and get his arms tucked back under his body. We're trying to hurry those hands up because they were so far behind us that they start to outrace our hips in the bottom half. And your fat shots happen because you lost a lot of lag here. Notice how much hinge he has, or leverage here with a straight left arm. So he's able to tack down through the ball and out to his target. Where we've lost all of that, that's a straight line, right? Or if we back him up where his hands are, I mean, he still has angle before he hits the ball. So hence why you're going to tend to want to scrape the ground. You know, a fat shot means you scrape here. A heel shot is you didn't want to scrape here, so you push the club out to nut.
Okay.
And then you come through. To the left. Just don't quite get the hips through because we couldn't use them quite properly with the drive through.